Good afternoon, everyone. My voice is audible. Anyone can is it
Yes, sir,
audible?
it's audible.
Okay. Only few members, only 27 members left. What about remaining members? Okay, రేపు ప్రెసెస్ ఉందని Okay, I will start. Okay, ma. Yesterday, what we discussed, ma, multi-processor or multi-processing scheduling. Okay, so just what you I'm telling amma once again. So previous CPU scheduling algorithm we used only one ready queue. So that means only one process we can execute at a time. Okay, one by one like that. But now coming to multi-processing or multi-processor scheduling, so multiple processor can execute simultaneously or parallelly or concurrently. Any name you can put them, okay, parallelly or concurrently or simultaneously. So it's called multi-processing. Okay. So what is the advantage here? The throughput will increase. Okay. And one more advantage is, what is the one more advantage? With the multiple processor running simultaneously, throughput will increase. And one more advantage, the cost. So because in the multi-processing scenario, we need to buy only CPUs. That means processors. The memory is common, peripheral devices is common. Okay. So even one more advantage is, see, if I am working with the large, I have more work. So having the one CPU is difficult to handle, yes or no? So it will take more time. So instead of one, we use more than one CPU. So the execution time of your work will reduce, yes or no? So to divide the load means working on the load on processor. Okay, so we will use multiprocessor when if you are having the large work. Okay, so the load on processor will increase for single processor. So to avoid that, we will use more number of CPUs. Okay, in the multiprocessor, we need to remember the bus is common. Okay, IO peripheral device is common, memory is common. Okay, it is multiprocessing. In the multiprocessing organization, we have two categories. One is asymmetric and the second one is symmetric. So what do you mean, what is the other name of asymmetric, Amma? What is the other name of asymmetric multiprocessor? Anyone? What is the other name of asymmetric multiprocessing? What is the other name? No one. So asymmetric multiprocessing we can also call as master slave processing. Okay, master slave multiprocessing. So what do you mean by master slave? That means in the multiprocessing scenario, master slave is nothing but master is the one process which which performs or which execute only system related operating system related processes. Okay, slaves means we have multiple slaves. Master only one master, multiple slaves. Okay, so master will execute the system related, that means system in the sense operating system related processes. Okay, slaves processes it will execute user related processes. So if anyone is executing or is doing anything in the laptop means those process related to user processors. Okay, those are performed by whom? Slave. Okay, got it? So that's why this scenario is called asymmetric. That means the memory is not shared here, amma. Remember, in the asymmetric, the memory and IO peripheral device was not common. Okay, they are separated. So coming to symmetric, the name itself is saying that symmetric. That means memory is common, peripheral device is common. Okay, common bus. So only multiple CPUs we need to buy. Okay, that's the advantage. That is, so in the nowadays everyone using or everywhere using multi-processing, using symmetric. Okay, not asymmetric. So that is regarding yesterday concept. Some of the terminologies we missed, Amma. I will explain it. See, yesterday we discussed all this. Okay. So there are mainly three sources of contention that can be found in multiprocessor operating system. So what we need to do, Amma? See, memory is shared by multiple processes. Yes or no? Accessing the memory. Multiple processes can access the data. So what we need to do? So locking system. So what do you mean by locking system? See, for example, in the real time, suppose if you want book a railway ticket, okay, so the available tickets are only one ticket, but the multiple users can try to book the ticket, yes or no? Then, then the locking system is there, Amma, okay? So in the next semester, you learn one subject, database management system. The lock system is, so how they are maintaining the locking on the data. So the locking, just for example, train ticket. So what happens if particular user, the first user who are booking the ticket, so the in the database, the transaction is locked. So remaining members cannot access until you come out from the data. Okay, that is locking. Only one user can access at a time. Okay, based on locking system, they can access the data in the real time. So as we know that the resource shared in the multiprocessor system, yes or no? Memory is shared memory, yes or no? You know what you mean by shared memory? Shared memory means there every process can get the data or access the data. Okay, that is shared memory. So what happens? There is a need to protect these resources for safe accessing among the multiple processors. Yes or no? Why? The main purpose of locking scheme is to serialize access of the resources of multiple processors. That is the common shared memory means memory is common, but the multiple process access. So there is must and should we need to protect. Yes or no? We need to protect the resources. For one process is accessing means we need to keep maintain the resources carefully. Okay, that is the locking system. And one more is shared data. See, in the shared data, more than one user or process can execute. Then we need to keep locking. When the multiple process access the same data at the same time, then there may be a chance to inconsistency of data. What do you mean by inconsistency of data? That means, see, Amma, suppose your details, your address in the CSC department is there, your address, your name and everything. But if the requirement is your address is changed, then you go and ask to you in the department, so my address is changed, so please change my address. Then if they change it at one place, the address of yours is available in any location, must be changed. Then only we can say that is consistency. If you change in one place, it is not changed in other places means data inconsistency. Yes or no? There is your address is Hyderabad, but in some other location your previous address, that is Vijayawada. So data is inconsistency. Okay. So we keep maintain the consistency data whenever the data is shared among the multiple users. Okay, what I mean by cache coherence? See, cache memory you already know. For example, I opened my laptop, I'm working some application, I'm working on some application or MS Office. So now what I am doing, that work is stored in the cache memory, because if further, if you want to access the data, it is easy to get the data because it is stored in the recent activities, the recent data which will be stored in the cache memory. Okay, so again go and fetch the data from the secondary storage device. It is little bit difficult. Okay, that's why cache plays very important in the memory concept. Okay, so the recently what you did, that the tasks that memory that are stored in the cache memory. Okay, so multiple process execute, yes or no? The scenario multiprocessor. So memory is common, multiple processor executing. Then we need to keep coherency among the caches. See, the shared resource data which stored in the multiple local caches. See, every process it contains one cache memory. Suppose there are two clients have to cache a copy of memory, and one client change the memory block, and the other client would be left with the invalid cache without notification of the change. Yes or no? So some other person did some modification, but he is not intimated to the other person. Then what happens? So we'll get the invalid data, yes or no? So that's why we need to keep in, even they get the conflict. Okay, so to resolve by maintaining the coherence view of the data. Okay, this is yesterday's topic, Amma. Okay, now today we will discuss about evolution of process scheduling algorithms. Okay, so here evolution of process scheduling algorithms are divided into four categories. Okay, one is deterministic modeling, and the second one is Q modeling, and the third one is simulations, and final one is implementation of algorithms. So evolution of algorithm, the name itself means, see, we need to analyze the algorithms somehow. Okay, see, we learned CPU scheduling algorithms. Why we learned the CPU scheduling algorithms? So the algorithm which is giving the less average waiting time, so we can take it that algorithm for execution of our process. Yes or no? The main reason for learning the CPU scheduling is, among all the algorithms, which algorithm is giving the less average waiting time, so I can pick out. Yes or no? Because within a given period of time, more number of processes will execute means we will get the throughput. Yes or no? The performance of system will increase. Okay. So that is deterministic modeling. Let's see one by one. So in the deterministic modeling means we need to analyze. Analytic evolution is nothing but analytic means in the business analytics. What do you mean by analytics? Analysis. Okay. So among all the algorithms, we need to analyze which algorithm is best. So that's why we need to use deterministic modeling. Let's see. This method evaluates specific algorithm by comparing the efficiency and efficiency of different algorithm on workload. See, this is process given, burst time is given. Now we need to calculate some of the algorithms. So among those algorithm, the algorithm which is giving the best, which is giving the less average waiting time, that becomes the best suitable for implementing the CPU scheduling. Yes or no? So this is process. Okay, let's see. You already know. I'm not explaining again. FCFS algorithm. See, our aim to find out the best algorithm from these. Okay. See, FCFS. How we get the this Gantt chart? You already know. Okay. Above here given process and burst time. Okay. See now, the average waiting time for FCFS is how many milliseconds in terms of milliseconds? 18.5. What about SAF? 6.5. What about round robin? The time content they given 8 milliseconds. So we will get this. Okay. So 6.5, this is round robin 12.5. Among these three algorithms, which one is the best one, Amma? Among these three, which algorithm is the best one? This is FCFS is 18.5, SAF is 6.5, and round robin is 12.5. Which algorithm best one for this scenario? Which one is the best one, Amma? So SJF is the best one because it given less average waiting time, 6.5 milliseconds. But one drawback is there in the SJF. Well, when we discussed about SJF, I said what is the drawback? The drawback is what is the burst time of the next process. Next process very difficult to expect. Okay. See, best algorithm in this case, this type of evaluation very simple and fast. Okay, yeah, simple and fast, very fast. SAF. Okay, but the drawback is, what is the drawback? We may not know the exact details of all the processes. Okay, that is the drawback. So the next one is queuing model. See, every among four, we are trying to find out which is the best one for executing the process. Okay, there are algorithms only. Okay, see, queuing model. You already know what is meant by queue. Okay, so here in the queuing model, we will use one formula. That formula we call Little's formula. Okay. So what do you mean by Little's formula? That formula is n equals to RW. So here n means the size of the queue or the length of the queue. You can say any one. Okay. Size of the queue or length of the queue. R means arrival time. W means waiting time. So based on any two variables, if you know, it is easy to calculate. Yes or no? So this whole thing is regarding this formula, Amma. Nothing is there here. Okay. N means length of the queue or size of the queue. R means arrival time. W means waiting time. If you know the among any variables, you can calculate the formula. Okay, value. This is also somewhat good compared to previous one, but it is also having the some drawback. What is the drawback? We cannot trust the result obtained completely. Okay. See, the drawback of this type of evaluation is that the arrival rates means arrival time and service distributions. What do you mean by service, Amma? The service, the other name is burst time. Okay. Distribution cannot be determined exactly. We will not get exact values. That's why this queuing model also waste. The next one is simulations. The simulation is nothing but this is the one kind of algorithm. So to get the accurate values, that means trying to find out the values. So this is actually one algorithm, but as of now you don't require. Okay, just what are the algorithms? Evolution of algorithms is important here. Okay. See, this is one, this algorithm is used for more accurate evaluation of the scheduling algorithms. To generate the one values and number of ways we can analysis. Statistics means, see, after the simulation executes, the statistics of the indicate the performance gathered and efficient algorithm is evaluated. Means based on the simulation algorithm, it will generate the values. So we based on those values, we need to analyze. Okay, analyze means statistical values means analysis values. Okay, but this is also having some more drawbacks. Some other simulation often consume a lot of money, also time of computers. Okay, even this is also waste. Final one is implementation of algorithm. The C program, if you want, before going to write any program, you must implement the algorithm. Yes or no? First, we need to take the logic. For example, my logic is addition of two numbers. That is C equals to A plus B. That is my logic. So based on that logic, I must write the algorithm first. After that, I can implement the program. Yes or no? So here, implementation of algorithm. See, the only way to get the performance of an algorithm in an efficient and precise manner is to code it. Okay? So we need to code the algorithm and put the operating system. So it will give the some of the some performance based analytical values. Even though this approach is not good. Okay? This is the just evolution of process scheduling algorithms. My remaining two concept theory part only. Okay, from the third module onwards, the important topics were there. Very important topic. Same like CPU scheduling algorithms. Okay, what's the time now? Okay, we have time. Okay, these are the evolution of process scheduling algorithms. Okay, deterministic and Q models, and third one is simulation, and the fourth one is implementation of algorithms. Amma, any queries regarding this concept, you can ask me. Anyone? So Monday onwards, we will start third module, Amma. So this is the all theory part. Any queries? Okay, fine. So the next one is we already discussed among multi-threading models. When we learn these among multi-threading models, we learn when we discussing the thread. What do you mean by thread? Type of threads. So we will create the thread, we will terminate the thread, and we will get the resources from the operating system. That is thread libraries. Yes or no? We learn these types multi-threading models. Even though I will explain one more time, Amma. See. Only three models, okay? If you don't know, see, I will show the previous one. Wait. See, thread models. Models we learned where see here. We already learned many to many, see, many to one to one relationships. Okay, even the see. The user threads must be mapped to the kernel threads by one of the following steps. You know already. Thread is the flow of execution of a program or process is called thread. So one single process may have multiple threads. Okay, multiple threads can execute simultaneously or parallel or concurrently. Okay, the types of threads: user level threads, kernel level threads. Okay, what do you mean by user level threads? At user level, the threads were created, and the kernel level also created some threads. Okay, that is user level. Those are types of threads: user level threads, kernel level threads. Okay, so there we know. So user level threads are created, are terminated, or getting the resources from the operating system. We will do Amma. We will do thread library. Okay, so the process, the thread creation or the thread termination, and even getting the resources from the operating system or kernel, we will do thread library. So here the communication, that means mapping from user level to kernel level, these are the three models: one to one model, one to one model, many to many model. Okay, let's see one by one. Many to one model, that means at user level having the multiple thread, single thread. Okay, see the diagram. Many to one. So multiple threads, these are the multiple threads mapped with the single thread from the kernel. Okay, threads are created in the user level as well as kernel levels having some threads. Okay, see, user level threads are mapped. Their management handled by the thread library. See, I already said thread library is the main thing to create thread or termination on what do you call resource, getting the resource from operating system. We will do thread library. In this case, if user level thread libraries are implemented in the operating system in some way that the system does not support them, even they directly doesn't support them. Okay, threads. So through thread library, the threads can get the data, okay, or resources. Then the kernel thread is the many-to-many relationship model. Okay, one-to-one model means the name itself saying just one-to-one means one thread is directly mapped with the user thread is mapped with the kernel thread. See this one like this. So these are implement one-to-one model in the Windows 95 or Windows XP until 95 to XPM. Okay. So direct interaction. See, one-to-one creates the separate kernel thread to handle each and every user thread. You already know kernel. What do you mean by kernel? Okay. All the resources are there in the kernel. Okay. The operating system means through kernel we can get the everything. Okay. Important model plays to limit on how many threads can be created. Okay. So one threads are created. See, this is implemented in the Linux and Windows from 95 to XP. Okay, one-to-one model provides more concurrency than the many of other model. Why? Because see, this is executing separate, this is executing separate, this is executing separate. Identically, they are concurrently or parallelly running. That's why this is more useful. Okay. The last one is many to many models. So multiple user threads mapped with the multiple kernel threads. Okay. So what are the use? Users can create any number of threads. Okay. Blocking the kernel system call doesn't block the entire process. If one see, if this is blocked, if one of the thread in the kernel is blocked, don't worry. The kernel we already learned. If one thread is blocked in the kernel thread, the kernel will create one more new thread. Okay, that is the advantage. That is in many to many. So processors can split across multiple processors. See, either this process can interact with this one, or this process can this thread is interact with this one, like that. Every thread can interact with any one of the kernel thread. Okay, that is the many to many model. Okay, thread model. We already discussed from this one. These are all theory part, amma. So you don't get a second. But if you know the terminology, that's enough, amma. So theory is lengthy, but once you read it, learn the what do you mean by thread. For example, thread library. What do you mean by thread library? Just read it, and what is that you need to remember. That's it. So thread library is the one concept in the second module, Amma. So what do you mean by thread library? We already know. What do you mean by thread, types of threads? Okay. We will create and we will delete and how to access the resources from the operating system. We will do a thread library. So every time we are saying that API. What do you mean by API? The full form of API, application program interface. So what do you mean by that? See, Java API called, see, every application which contains API. Okay, through API only we can access the data. Okay, so API is in the sense the logic what, for example, Java API. So that API which contains program, Amma. Okay, API is nothing but program, but that program is implemented based on logic. So what you are going to do from that API, that code is implemented in that logic. Okay, the code API is nothing but coding only. Okay, program. So there they implemented their requirement. Okay, similarly the thread library. What is the thread library? This is also one API. The programmers or developers, they implemented the programming for the specific purpose. Here this purpose is, what is the purpose here? The thread library. The purpose is creation of thread, or even it can terminate the thread, even it can get the data from the kernel. Yes or no? So that's why we required thread library. See, thread libraries provide programmers with API for the creation and management of threads. Okay, thread library will take care everything. It can manage all the threads. Okay, thread libraries may be implemented either in the user space or kernel. Yes, at user level having thread libraries, at kernel level also having the thread library. We can implement anywhere. Okay, that is one API. You can use it anywhere. The user space involves API functions implement solely within the user space with no kernel. Yes, at the user level, thread library implemented without supporting of kernel. Yes, true only. The kernel space involves system calls. Okay, in the operating system, it calls system calls and requires kernel with thread library support. Okay, from user level to kernel level, whenever interrupt happens, that means trap or you can call other name, what is a system call happen, then it will move process from user level to kernel level. Okay, see, we have types of thread. Okay, what are the different? We already learned about POSIX P thread. So POSIX is nothing but one IEEE standard. Okay, this is one standard. POSIX is the one standard. It is used in the operating system. Okay, just like IEEE standard. How many of you know? I don't know IEEE standard. Okay, so POSIX PI thread. So it may be provided user or kernel library as an extension to the POSIX standard. That means, so while discussing